yourself a little bit to the audience, and that way you can kind of have an understanding of who you are and stuff like that.
Good evening, good afternoon, good night to Facebook land audience, to the Lion audience, to Spicy Pepper Dish blog. I first would like to say thank you very much. My love and kindness and compassion goes out to this woman behind that computer screen. It was not for her. I don't know, like, what would have happened as of, like, 2 weeks ago.
Can you just, introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, and that way you can kind of have an understanding of who you are and stuff like that.
Good evening, good afternoon, good night to Facebook land audience, to the Lion audience, to Spicy Pepper Dish blog. I first would like to say thank you very much. My love and kindness and compassion goes out to this woman behind that computer screen. It was not for her. I don't know, like, what would have happened as of, like, 2 weeks ago when I was dragged into the Facebook drama for your mama situation, as I am a child advocate and a domestic violence advocate and a humanitarian advocate overall. I have done so much to enhance human beings' lives.
Right.
I so happen to have came across, I call her now Lolo Lalita Lala.
All right, there you go.
Came across her like let's say in April maybe, or in March of 2022, when Miss Cora Obidi Dean had her newborn baby and was experiencing a whole lot of traumatic stress disorder, and her life just changed around in an instant.
Right.
So my aim was actually to protect her as an advocate for women and children. I reached out to Cora in her inbox, hoping that she would see my message to her and offering help to her, even if financially help, or just being there to give her advice of how to recuperate from such a trauma at that time.
Okay.
But unfortunately, Cora may not have seen my inbox message to her.
Right.
So I had happened to run into Lolo Lalita Lala live on Facebook.
Right.
And I decided to, like, follow her and see what she was all about.
All right. Hold up a second. Let me interpret for my people. A lot of them may not understand, your phonetics, and I'm going to break it down. Sister Jahmena. Sister Jahmena, no New York, America, Oga support Kora, and then not Kora na si Kora. Lolekia naswa loe, ona loe ya bully on togi. Lolekia no ho omiliki o yemo lolekia ge ogbomadia. Ona togi. Ona ho no manipulate sister na. Ona do aye sister na. They can't use this our sister. They lie on top of our sister. They try to make people believe, say, that this our sister, like they bully Cora. And Cora just born that time. Whereas now they bully Cora. Because he want to use Cora name to monetize page. Yeah, go ahead, Jahmena.
Yes, absolutely. So, in trying to help Cora, I crossed Lolo Lalita Lala her live pertaining to Cora.
Right.
So I thought in my mind that she, Lolo Lalita Lala, was giving Cora tough love at that time.
Right. Which is typical,
Typical.
I mean, in our society where we live, in part of the world where we live, you know, we rehabilitate people through tough love at times.
Yes.
And there are times when that is not necessary, when you actually have to love the person, you know, considering the situation or whatever it is the person is going through at that time. You want to love that person,
yes,
and to help them heal through the process.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I truly thought in the depth of the realm of my knowledge, I thought that Lolo Lala was doing something positive at the time.
Right.
Tough love. But I was commenting and saying things from my perspective as a legal person and as a person with a whole lot of information pertaining to women and children. And I was sharing and educating her audience based on the fact that what could happen to Cora if the government gets involved. You know,
that way she can get help.
Help, yes, and it could save her from doing certain things to prevent certain things. That's what I was doing. I was educating.
Kind of like helping her to her postpartum.
Yes.
You know.
So through Lolo Lala page and talk show as it's known to be, my information I thought would spread and will be able to help Cora, but it went left.
Right.
It went left.
She turned the positive into a negative situation.
Right. It went left. And I'm going to take blame for partaking in the going left because I'm too intelligent and have too much knowledge and information for me to have went left. But let me just break it down like this. Like, if we involve ourselves in a cult situation, right? Following a leader that is a cult leader. And start going and believing in him and following.
Okay, so wait a minute. I'm going to just pause a little bit because a lot of people may not kind of quite understand. So what you can infer out of Lolikia's behavior was that she kind of ran her group as a cult.
That's how I saw it. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because if a person like myself could get caught up in a situation like what this Lolo Lala was doing, it goes to show that anyone could get caught up in a situation like that. Because it went on and on and on for months, right?
Right.
Eventually, God has opened up a way for me to realize that Lolo Lala is a person who is suffering from some sort of syndrome as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you mentioned, first of all, I'm going to emphasize a little bit on you mentioning about her running her group like a cult, okay? And second of all, that she has some sort of psychosis.
Yes.
Okay?
Let me say this.
Okay.
Label her illness as psychosomatic illness.
Psychosomatic, right.
Yes.
And I believe that's also in conjunction with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's kind of elaborate a little bit on this, because a lot of people may not understand, what her problem is, because sometimes she comes out on social media and insults people, and people really don't understand her background. Okay. Lolo's background is that, one, this lady was enslaved. All right. Yes. Before she relocated to Europe, before she migrated to Europe, she served as a maid, as what we call house girl. So she was a maid in Nigeria. Okay. They took her from the village, from the country, and straight up to the city where she served as a maid.
Right.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure while she was a maid, she was abused.
Yes.
She went through all kinds of traumatic events that she probably can say. She was probably raped.
Yes.
She was probably physically abused.
Yes.
Emotionally abused. Mental abuse. She went through all this series and series and series and series of abuse.
Yes.
Okay? And to put the icing on the cake, once she migrated to Europe, you know, she did not go through the traditional route of migration. You understand what I'm saying? I went through the traditional route of migration. I went to the embassy, got a visa, you know, my family got a visa and brought me here and, you know, started an American life. But this girl, Lolekia, went through a phase in her life that she was coming out of one trauma and then jumping into a bigger trauma. Now, okay, I know this is your field. I know you specialize in therapy. And So, basically, what Lolo went through is that once she got to Europe, she went through sex slavery. So imagine from being a slave to an international slave. So she had to pay her madam. She was forced into prostitution. So imagine a person who I mean, sometimes when I see her, I feel empathetic, but she's not going through the healing process the right way. So what she is displaying on social media is called post-traumatic stress disorder. So being sold into sex slavery, she worked almost 10 years, a whole decade, working and making a penny. Her madam, which we call over here the pimp. Okay, the PIMP was making all the money, and she wasn't making the dime. You know, she was being used as a sex slave, and you know, eventually she got out of it. You know, and perhaps I heard she still does it now willingly, voluntarily. She still does, you know, sex work. Okay, now she never went through any sort of therapy. She never went through any sort of rehabilitation.
Right.
So, I mean, tell me a little bit more about post-traumatic stress disorder in terms of, let's use Lolekia as a case study here.
Okay.
This is going to be very informative and educational.
I hope Lolo Lalita Lala is watching this now, because I kept on telling you guys and your fans and your followers and whoever it is, I inform you guys who I was and who I am. And even though I was between you guys, I am an asset to all of you. And you guys couldn't take it and use it and run with it. What you did, you continue to live under that little dark grave that you couldn't escape out of it, because your mind is so, you know, dark and full of all this pain and sorrow and suffering. So, and hatred.
Aggression.
So with Lolo Lalita Lala, I notice your behavior, pathological pattern behavior. I notice it after a while. And I've been watching you and your behaviors and your lashing out and your screaming and you're wanting to hurt people. You know, you feel like you have to hurt the whole world. You feel like you have to hurt a child. That is your post-traumatic stress disorder, because you have not gotten any medical care for it. I notice, Lolo Lalita Lala, you probably hate me now, but it's okay. You know, as your loss is someone else's gain.
Right.
Okay? So many people gain me now because you didn't know what to do with what valuable assets that you had, which is me.
Right.
Because I saw when you verbally abused that child, whoever child it is. I don't know the child. Whatever dramas you have in your past life, Lolo Lalita Lala, I know about it. I wasn't there. I wish I can save you. I wish I can go do something to the people that harm you. That's the kind of woman I am. That's the kind of protector that I am.
Okay, just a second, Jahmena. You just said something that really caught my attention. And frankly speaking, I was once mad at Lolo, Malikia, and you just said something. What you said is pretty much the outcome of passive aggression.
Yeah, aggressive, yes.
Passive aggression, as it's defined, is it's a way of expressing negative feelings, such as anger, annoyance, indirectly instead of directly. So she don't have a way of going back to her madam who abused her for a decade.
Yes.
She don't have a way of going back to the madam in Nigeria who used her as a housemaid.
Yeah.
So now her way of letting out that anger, right, and her way of healing in her own reasoning is unleashing her anger on people on social.
And let me reiterate this, right? Bush Lion. Actually, it's normal when you're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder to have those pathological pattern behavior.
Right.
But in most cases, right? She knows what she's going through. Trust me.
She does.
She knows what she is going through. She found a mechanism of how to handle the post-traumatic stress disorder by abusing others. So let me just say this. Hurt people hurt people. All right?
Thank you. Hurting people who hurt other people.
Yes.
For no apparent reason.
No reason at all. Okay? So 2 weeks ago, I did a sort of interview like what I'm doing with you, but it wasn't like this.
Right.
This is fabulous, know.
I'm happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
When I spoke with you the first time, I could tell, I'm like, this is a woman with a lot of knowledge, a lot of, therapeutic knowledge, education and therapy and, and counseling. And I'm sure, and we're not doing this to shame her in any way.
Oh, no.
We're doing this to rehabilitate her and to allow her audience, her gullible audience.
Yes, to learn something.
And understand that the person whom they see as a leader is not actually a leader.
Yes.
It's the person who needs
help.
Mental help.
Help.
Yes, help.
Yeah. So let me say, what I was saying is that from the 2 weeks ago when I did those interviews, sort of, I was sharing information, right? And it was all pertaining to the bullying stuff. I was tired of seeing the bullying.
Right.
When I heard Lolo call the child a King Kong gorilla, and she meant it. And
King Kong gorilla. She called it
a child.
Somebody else's child. King Kong gorilla.
Yes. Yeah, you don't do that. In no part of the world do you ever call an innocent, helpless child who is just here to live, breathe, eat, sleep, play, go to school, have fun, have friends.
Right.
You don't call a child a King Kong gorilla.
It is out of line.
It is. What about if that particular child knows that Lolo Lalita Lala called that child a King Kong gorilla, and that child go through some type of depression? We have 4,400 children in our country where we live that commit suicide every year. Every year. So the outside world in which children commit suicide, but they don't take that serious, right?
Yes. And another thing is this. I understand Loleka is trying to heal. She's trying to heal, right? And the fact that she's not directing her energy, into the